Welcome to yet another episode of Come On, Sis. Not coincidentally, I'm starting on the time 1:11 p.m. on this September 2nd. This episode will be brought to you by Psychological BuckBreaking. Psychological BuckBreaking, you heard it. I made it up, not the BuckBreaking part. We know where it comes from, so honestly, I'm not here to give you a history lesson. You know what BuckBreaking is, but if you don't, well, Google will be your friend. Not me, though. Here on Come On, Sis, we're going to be talking about psychological BuckBreaking. I have a friend who is very pleased to hear me talk about this episode. So, shout out to you. You know who you are. Let's get into it. Horror stories, people. I said I wasn't going to go into a history lesson, but I'm going to go into a story mode that's kind of like history. So whatever. But back in the day when we used to sit around campfires and tell stories, part of the inspiration of telling a story was the spooky ones, the horror stories, the R.L. Steins. The good storytellers that would give us a nice story and a moral, something that we can hold on to as we proceed on this journey of life, as we experience what we experience. And there was always something intrinsic, metaphoric about that experience that set us on our path as people. There was something that we retained from the stories, and we lost it, or rather, at least the men did. But let's fast forward, because when it comes to psychological BuckBreaking, where I even get this term from is, again, BuckBreaking. You want to go to Google for that. But psychological, I'm talking about the breaking, the stiffening, and the course correcting of a woman's character when it comes to how you want her to behave. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. Your girlfriends. You guys know how you want each other to behave. You know how you want each other to perceive each other. You know the freedoms that you want the world to afford you. You know. You also know how you want the men to see you, which is, like I said in the last episode, you don't want him to see you necessarily. You want him to see the visage, and then to help you escape the visage with minimum casualty. But psychological BuckBreaking is how a woman deifies herself in that social village circle that you women create. You tell each other horror stories. Who is the center of the horror, might I ask? Well, I know. I'm here to talk to you and to inform the men. You deify yourselves. You make gods out of yourselves by telling horror stories to each other about the way that you're treated, or could be. These things don't have to happen, but they can happen to you. Who's the one who inspires the horror, though? Shall we say it on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. Men. If your answer was something else, I'm sorry for you. But you tell each other horror stories about the potential of danger that men can offer. Not the success, not the gratitude, not the gifts, not the brilliance, not the knowledge, not the intelligence, not anything for some reason that actually would benefit you in the long run. You turn yourselves into gods. You make yourselves holy by inspiring each other through horror, through the horrors of men, through the imagined horrors of men, to course correct each other, and to, by way of course correcting each other, course correct the world around you. You see, you're not the only one, milady. that is experiencing the world that you're in. Please understand that the stories you tell each other influence the entire world around you. This isn't just some Disneyland where everything you do in your little ballpark only affects you. In a stadium, when baseball is happening, yes, sure, the players down on the field are playing, but sometimes when that home run goes outside of the stadium into the audience gets a chance to react too. The horror stories you're telling each other while you're making each other gods, giving each other reasons to do what you do because of the fear that you've created within yourself and your girlfriends circle. Ladies, you're afflicting everyone else. Now, I understand that the horror stories, the fear that you guys offer each other give you an opportunity to develop instinct and a survival mode about the life that you live to make sure that you get the best out of life. I understand that it helps you stay present, but understand that you're designing your fears based off of a reality that isn't in line with someone else. And unfortunately, you have an entire group of girlfriends who co-sign that imagination. Unfortunately, but factually, it's powerful enough to ruin countries because you are all in the game. The men aren't, though. We don't tell each other horror stories about you. I don't care to tell myself a horror story about a woman. I don't care to do it. I'm not going to make myself a god by way of what you've done to me or what you can do to me and develop every sort of reasoning as to why I do what I do based off of what I see in my head. It's a helpful tactic, though. And to the men that are listening, I implore you, develop your own horror story. Inspire fear within yourself. Ignore this idea that you need to be fearless. Fear is an emotion each human has. But I'm going to stop there because this is, come on, sis. This isn't some relationship inspirational thing. This is, especially in this episode of Come On, Sis, psychological bug breaking. It's no wonder you guys have a pecking order when it comes to women. The other men might not see it, but I see it. I see your girlfriends. I see who's in charge. Buck breaking each other all day long. You see the woman who resists. You see the woman who doesn't want to be afraid of men, and you give her even more. You give her even more dangers. Not only do you try to inspire her with the dangers and horrors of men, but you also inspire her with the dangers and horrors of women who are ostracized, extradited from your group. Because, oh no, how will she survive if she doesn't have her girlfriends by her side? Her ladies, her homegirls. What will she do? So to get her in line, this is how you do it. You scare her into being a part of your troop, a part of your girlfriend. She might not want to do it, but for survival's sake, you've already won the game. She has to. You'll treat her like a weirdo, like an outcast. And all the other ladies will know instinctively because they've been playing the game before she came up. So they already know how to react to that lady over there that, oh, and all of a sudden she's everything you're not. When the entire point of psychologically buck-breaking each other is to force each other to get in line for a universal support circle of girlfriends. Come on, sis. Come on. It's very thorough, I admit. But come on, sis. You're playing a really hard game. And you're ruining each other. It's so easy to see, at least for me. That's why this episode exists. This is psychological buck breaking. This is just as simple as it gets. This is exactly how you treat each other. This is how you guys get in relationships, not with men, with each other. But that's going to be for another episode. We've got a lot to talk about. Come on, sis.